So good morning. If you don't know me, my name is Jay Pryor. Most of you know me. My name is Jay Pryor, and I was a member of this congregation and I'm a diaspora member. But I lived here from 2002 to 2007, and the first thing I want to do is acknowledge, appreciate, and thank you for who you are for me in terms of my spirit. So a little bit about me and my faith journey. I was raised Catholic, and I mean diehard Catholic. Like, I grew up in a town of 500 people, and I was the youngest of 9. So we were the choir, the whole choir. Right? I mean, and my dad was the president of the Knights of Columbus, and my mom was the president of the Altar Society, and every single one of us was the president of Junior CYO and CYO, and we were involved, right? We would go to church every Sunday and every holy day, and we were involved. And then when I was 14 years old, remember I was born female, a girl kissed me and I went, oh my God, that's what's wrong with me, I'm gay. And then I knew that I was going straight to hell, and that I was mentally deranged, and that something was deeply wrong with me. And a few years of suicidal ideation later, I landed myself in a psychiatric unit where I met my first lesbian couple who told me, kid, there's nothing wrong with you, you're just gay. And I said, what? What do you mean I'm just gay? You mean I'm not going to hell? I don't have horns, like nothing, what? Right? And so I thought, okay, cool, I can come out, and I came out. But then I talked to a priest and I said, I'm gay. And this particular priest said, it's gonna be okay. You can still go to mass, you're good. So I moved to Lawrence, Kansas, and I went to the priest there who was the university priest. He was supposed to be really hip because he was a university priest, right? So I went to talk to him, and he said, it's okay if you're gay as long as you don't practice homosexuality. And I thought, well, I just started this. I think I need a lot of practice. So I don't think I can come back. And he said, if you do practice that, then you cannot take communion. You can come to church, but you cannot take communion. Now, if you know anything about Catholicism, if you're not taking communion, there's no point in going to mass, right? That's why we go. So in my world, what he did was he ripped my religion away from me. And at the time I thought, well, that's fine. I've got my own relationship with God. It was all good. I was fine. It was fine. Fine, everything's fine. And I went about my way. And long story short, I walked through the world as a woman for 35 years. And at the age of 35, I started taking testosterone. At that time, I was living here in Washington, DC. And I met Ann Cook at a PFLAG meeting. And Ann and I became friends. And she invited me here to this church on the day that you were having a transgender woman who had previously been a Methodist minister, and she came to preach. And afterwards, there was a talkback panel, and I sat on the panel with this transgender woman. And I had such a chip on my shoulder about religion at that time that I was ready, man. I was ready for you to like throw bombs at me or something. I was armed, I was ready. And everybody kept saying all these nice things and asking me questions. And then this one guy raised his hand, and he's not here today, but it was Bert Keitel, is that right? And he had blonde hair, and I thought, that's the dude, man. He's gonna say something rude, right? I was ready. And he raised his hand, and I said, yes, sir. And he said, how can we be, he said, how can we be more welcoming? Right? How can we be more welcoming to transgender people? And I was like, what? Who are you? Like, what is happening? At the time, Jessica and I had been looking for a church. We tried different churches and nothing really felt good. And that day, we had just moved into our first new condo together, and we had bought a chaise lounge piece of furniture, our first piece of furniture. And it was being delivered that day after church, so she went home, and I got a ride afterwards. And I got a ride with Rachel Cornwell. This synchronicity is not lost on me. I hope it's not lost on you. So I got a ride home from Rachel. And you know how it is when you have a crush on somebody and you can't stop talking about it, right? So I got home that day and I just wouldn't stop talking about it. And I was like, and then this happened, and then this person said this, and then we'd take a break for a while, and then I'd be like, oh yeah, and then this happened, and then that happened, and Jessica was like, we're going back. Okay, we're going back. So we came back, and I cried for a year, every day, every Sunday for a year. At least I cried, because what you gave to me, right, was my access to spirit again inside of a structure called religion, and you just loved me, and you gave me this space, right? And you saw me, and so you gave me this space to step into. And then at our first Dumbarton retreat that Jessica and I attended, I cannot confirm or deny that there may have been some shenanigans. I will not confirm or deny that there may have been some alcohol involved. But I will tell you that Sunday that we met for church the next day, I did not feel that great. But it was my birthday. And I remember sitting there, a little hungover, trying to get my bearings, and we're in church, and then out of nowhere, you all start humming the Dona Nobis Pot. And you're humming. I'm like, what is going on? And then you're humming in a round. And you're humming, and I'm like, and then you start singing, and the light came in. And I got to experience the Holy Spirit on my birthday in the most profound way, because I had been missing that. I have always had a love affair with the Holy Spirit, and I was missing from it, and you helped me find it. That gave me access to a part of me that then I have gotten to go on and build bigger. When we left here, we went to Lawrence, Kansas, and we had two options of churches that might be welcoming to us, that were welcoming. One was a congregational church, Christian church, and the other was Unity, which is a New Thought religion or New Thought movement. And we looked at this, and it turns out that the New Thought was really more in line with what I believed and what really resonated for me. And so I spent the last 5 years learning and studying New Thought. And as I continue to do that, it continues to open me up to who I am and what I'm here for. When we used to sing, Here I am, Lord, that song for me is my call. Here I am. And here I am willing to be. So in New Thought, one of the things that we really believe and study is that any thought that you have, that you are not holy and divine and well, is an error thought, right? It's a thought that is in error. And so when we say, trust in God with all your heart, and do not trust your mind, do not trust your own insights. Whatever you do, this monkey mind that's chattering at you is not who you are. It's not what you're about, and it's nothing to be listened to. It really is not. Do not listen to your mind. Do not trust your own understanding, because that understanding has been wired up for your own safety. We wired ourselves up when we were younger to support ourselves and save ourselves, right? And to be protected from this world that we're in. And when you're in fear, if you're in a hurry, you're in fear, right? When you're in fear, when you're in worry, you are in your wiring. You are not trusting in God, right? Because if you were trusting in God, we don't have to be in the wiring. What I have discovered is the more I can become mindful of the wiring, right? I practice mindfulness on a powerful level. So the more I can be mindful of what the wiring is doing, the more I can say, no, thank you. I'm not gonna listen to that. I'm not gonna trust in my own insight. I'm only gonna trust in God, and what I call God is love. And my God is love because love is who I am. And what I know myself to be, and how I know that when I show up as love, then I see you as nothing but light and love. Now, I don't know if you know this, but I went on and became a coach. And I became a speaker, and I wrote a book. And now I have a whole ministry of my own, right? That is about really dialing in mindfulness to understand when it's our mind, right? And when it's the Holy Spirit, when it's that inner being, that inner knowing that we have within us that is tapped by the Holy Spirit. Now, before I came here, I didn't, if you're raised Catholic, I know this sounds crazy, but if you're raised Catholic, you don't really have a relationship with Jesus. You just kind of, oh, Jesus, yeah, okay. It's really about Mary, all the other stuff. Jesus is cool, but you don't really get to know Jesus. In here, you taught me about social justice Jesus. And I started to learn about social justice Jesus and having a relationship with Jesus. And then I moved on, and in my studies now and in the faith that I have a knowing of, Jesus is my way shower. Jesus knew not to trust the human mind. Jesus was in alignment with their source. I like to say they, because I agree that Jesus is non-binary, because he knew that they were they, and they were love and light. And so Jesus as love and light always knew that, and that monkey mind that did not trust your mind, right? Jesus got that. And so I now have this relationship with Jesus as my way shower. He's a great hugger, gives me high fives a lot. And in my new thought world, one of the most powerful tools that I have been given is using my imagination. So we say that the only way that you can access spirit is through your imagination. But your mind is always going to tell you, yeah, that's just your imagination. And so you cannot trust that mind because it's no fun at all. But when you use your imagination, you can have all kinds of fun with spirit. And if I were to tell myself, oh, that's just your imagination, then I would not have had some of the most profound experiences I've ever had in inviting the Holy Spirit into my life and into guide me. And when I do that, and I'm in alignment, which I do on my best, on my best days, not that I haven't mastered every day, but when I do that and I trust in love in all my ways, it's always guiding me. And there are always signposts along the way if I pay attention, right? So just for an example, on the flight in here, Jessica is doing a crossword puzzle. The very first question on the crossword puzzle are caverns in Virginia. We got married in Luray. To me, I could say that's not a sign. That's just silly. That's just that's nothing. Or I could say, what a beautiful, powerful sign from God when we're coming into Washington, D.C. to remind us of Luray, right? It's all my choice. I get to decide. I get to decide who I am and what I take in based on my imagination. And it's so fun. And so for me, when I learned here, I never understood a liturgical calendar before until you taught me that. And when I first heard Pentecost, right, when the Holy Spirit comes at Pentecost, I was so excited because I was like, I didn't ever know that story, right? And so you gave me this wonderful, like, strong foundation for me to be able to leap off into, to be the person that I wanted to be, that here I am, Lord, to be me. And so in this ongoing journey, what I have gotten for myself is that a lot of times we feel separate from each other and separate from God, right? And we are dialing in that separation through our culture all the time. One of the things that right now is so massively important for you not to trust your mind around is our politics right now and the fear that is happening everywhere. I, of anybody right now, could be scared, right? The more out I am as a trans person, the more out I am in the world, the more trolls come and tell me that I should die or kill myself, or that there's only two genders, and I don't like that's how it goes, right? And I could be scared. People tell me all the time, you're less safe now, Jay, than you were 10 years ago, being out. I could be scared. I could dial that in and I could listen to my mind and be afraid and, hide and do all those things. And I refuse. I refuse because I trust in God with all my heart and I do not listen to my mind. I know that all is well in my heart and in my soul, and I am at peace because I know that God's got this. Now, sometimes it occurs like, right? Are you sure God's got this? Because it doesn't look like it, right? It looks like, oh crap, we're being dragged back to 1972, right? That's what it looks like, and that's what it seems like. But do not trust your own mind. Do not trust your own understanding, because that's not what's happening. Whatever's happening is unraveling the way it absolutely should, because it is. And we can fight against it and resist it all day. But what I know is that what we push against, what we resist, persists. And it comes at us stronger. And so instead of fighting against, I just want to stand in love and be in the lane of love and push out a love message that is bigger than any kind of resistance or any kind of, political fear that anybody can do. The love I have and the lane I'm staying in continues to just be my source. And I refuse to allow myself to be sunk down into all the fear and all the scary parts. So my ministry now that I have is I did a One Human show. First of all, I want to back up a little bit because a lot of you know me. I went off testosterone in 2018. And I started going by they, them pronouns. And I identify myself as a non-binary human. Now, I also now go by all the pronouns because I just don't care. I'm still a non-binary human. And I wrote a One Human show. I did this show in 2019. And then I turned it into a podcast. And Debbie's about to pass out the notes for my podcast, and the cards for my podcast. So my podcast, what I want you to get is that without you, this is not possible. None of this is possible. None of this. Because when I came to you, I was someone who had been hurt and devastated by religion. I was keeping God and the Holy Spirit right here at arm's length, right? Keeping them at arm's length because I just don't want to get hurt anymore. And I come here, and not only do you embrace me and embrace us, but you allow us, right? You create this space where I can find myself as the holy and divine human with this spark, this huge spark of divinity within me that now I have access to that I didn't have access to before. So my website really is just a continuation of your ministry, right? It is the ministry of Dumbarton is alive and well still in me and always will be because you started it, right? You gave me the power to access myself in a way that I did not know I had, right? Once I had access to that, then I have been able to stand here in the face of people telling me I should die, in the face of laws all over the place attacking trans kids, right? In the face of any of that. And I can say, here I am, Lord. I'm here and I'll stand here and I'm gonna be love. Because we have to be the change we want to see. And I know it occurs like we need to fight and resist and do all that, but I promise you who we need to be is love. And if we stand in that love, if we do not trust our own mind and we stand and we trust, then what I know is that no matter what I find is that there's that butterfly wing, right? That impacts the entire world. There's that ripple. I cannot tell you how many people have come to me to tell me what a difference I've made in their lives just by being out, just by being vocal, just by being the one who's willing to stand here and say, here I am, Lord, and I am love, and that's all I want to be. And this ministry still needs your support. I am working on this podcast and getting this message out. And currently I have 4 patrons and 2 of them go to this church or used to. Jennifer just moved. But Joan is also a patron and I really appreciate it. So if you see the cards that you have, there's one side that says you can listen. It's got a QR code and the other side has a become a patron. And if you're so inclined to continue to support this ministry, we have different levels. It's like $7, $16, and $25 a month to be able to continue to support the podcast. If you're willing and open to do that, we really appreciate the support. And the most important thing that I want to leave you with, and I want to do more than anything, is love you up and appreciate you for who you are and who you've been for me, even though I haven't been here. Because even though I haven't been physically here, I've been here. And I've been with you. And being back here with you, it reminds me how much I miss you. Like, it's so weird when you see, out of sight, out of mind a little bit, and I see you and I'm like, oh my God. So I just can't more than anything tell you how delighted I am and how appreciative I am that you all created this space and you continue to create a space where people's lives are literally being saved. You saved my life. And not in a physical way, but I could have gone through the rest of my life being pissed at God. And instead, I get to have this unbelievable relationship with God, with the Holy Spirit, and even with my brother Jesus. That started right here. So before I go, I want to remind you, because this is who you are, for me, and who you are always, that your deepest fear is never that you're inadequate. Your deepest fear is that you're powerful beyond measure. And it is your light, not your darkness, that most frightens you. You ask yourself, who am I to be gorgeous, talented, fabulous? It's true, you're not to be. You're a child of God, and you playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. You were born to make manifest the glory. Think about the glory. You were born to make manifest the glory of God. And it's not just in some of us, it is in every one of you. And as you let your own light shine, you unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. And as you're liberated from your own fear, your presence automatically liberates others. Thank you for being my life. Thank you for lifting me up and for coming into my knowing of myself as love and as a light in my true nature. Because see, I think sometimes my true nature is a little salty. The reality is my true nature is love, and so is yours. Thank you.